are all of you doing today?
So good.
Look, one of the first questions that I wanted to ask all of you is I really wanted to know what was that moment on set that really made you realize, like, crap, we are really doing this. Like, this is really happening for us now.
For me, it was the day we walked onto the Bebop set
Yeah.
and took our first tour of that particular set, and it was so specific and so vast, and the detailing was incredible, down to the post-its
Yeah.
in the kitchen, down to the albums, the jazz albums in Jet's collection, down to the copy of On the Road by Jack Kerouac that was hanging out on the chair. It was just an
Yeah.
extraordinarily real place.
I'd say that Easter eggs were pretty endless, and I remember that day, and we spent time just kind of going through everything. Also, if you pay close attention, there is a picture of Steve Blum on our refrigerator,
Yeah.
who voiced the original. He was the original
Spike.
voice for Spike. Yeah.
I mean, I just piggyback on what they said. It was totally the bebop. I mean, it took them 3 months to make that thing, and every bit of love went into it. As I sat down in the captain's chair and started pushing switches and things turned on, I was like, oh snap. We here. Yeah.
But one of the things that I love about all of these characters is that it's so relatable because at points of our life, we're always running from our past in some way, shape, or form. And it always finds a way to catch up back to us. And I wanted to know for all of you, and you can speak either personally or professionally, what do you do to make sure that you're healing from your past so you can truly just be present in the moment?
I mean, self-reflection is extremely important to me. Just, all manner of self-development, especially as an artist. I feel like the best artist is holding on to the least, and is a more hollow channel, so to speak. And so I think you can only achieve that emptiness or openness if you're like, paying attention to what's making you tick. And so, yeah, that and art go hand in hand for me.
Yeah. Needless to say, I don't think any of our characters are past that. I think we're all in it. But I also think just being, I mean, it sounds like a cheesy line, but it's true. I think just being in the moment, where you're right in the middle of the past and the future,
Yeah.
I think is the best best way to be. And also I think, how I approached, playing that character.
I'll say, listen, I'm still struggling with it. I'm not self-actualized like Moo. I'm trying to loosen my grip on things. But I'll let you know when I figure it out.
Yeah.
It's okay as long as you're trying, it's all that matters.
I'm trying.
One of the things that I really, really adore is the chemistry that all three of you have. And it really set the tone for the series. And it just made me feel like I need to be friends with them because the banter that they have, that's what I need in my life. So I wanted to know, like, how did you really take the time to establish the chemistry that shines so beautifully on screen between all three of you?
We spent a lot of time with each other, I think, going through COVID, taking a break, we really became a family because the only people who really know what we're going through as a cast is us. I know what John's experience is, like Moo knows what my experience is. So I feel like, I don't know, it was like a family that was earned.
Yeah, I think there is something also about being in this boat. We all know what the pressures were of this particular job and kind of common effort. On a practical level, I'll say also one of the hardest things the hardest part of the job probably we started out with, which was boot camp, kind of learning our fighting styles. And so we just spent the job before we shot not a frame of film, 1 pixel of video, that we were just together every day, all day, touching each other and sparring, and so it was a bonding experience. So I'm glad it began that way.
I mean, and I think we're just fortunate that, that the chemistry is there, serendipity of that is, because we can spend a lot of time together and hate each other. You know what I mean? So, or not be able to as you say, banter the way we do.
I remember that the first rehearsal day we had, and in the conference room, and I was like, "Oh, this is Spike and Jet," and because we didn't audition together, so I had never heard him talk in the voice of Jet, and he had not heard me in the voice of Spike, and I just remember going, "Oh shit, this is working. I think this may work." It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Well, look, I just want to let all of you know you have absolutely made my day. This is my damn show. So I've been waiting forever for this. So I've been sending so much love and light your way. I hope you have the most amazing rest of your day. And just thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
So much.
Thank you.
Hey.
Wait, hi, how are both of you doing today?
Hi, Sharonda. We're well.
Yeah, we're
thanks.
very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to be chill and not stand out right now. So I'm trying to compose myself. But one of the first questions that I have for the both of you is I find your dynamics, in the relationship so interesting. And I wanted to know, do you feel as though that your characters kind of have this codependent relationship, almost like a misery loves company type of connection?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say from Vicious's point of view, he's absolute. It's paramount for him to be kind of adored and worshipped and supported. He's very narcissistic and has a low self-esteem, I would say, and therefore needs kind of the attention from Julia.
Yeah, I think for Julia, because she thinks Spike is dead, I think she feels like even though this relationship is incredibly unhealthy, she does stand by Vicious because she feels that he's the only person she has in the world, and it's very unfortunate. But I think oftentimes in abusive relationships we tend to make excuses for what's happening to us, and so I think that's very much what's happening with Julia, because without Vicious she is completely alone in the world.
Look, I just wanted to give both of them hugs. Like, somebody cares about you. You will make it through this.
Well, that's actually what's so interesting about the dynamic, is that Spike is that person at some point in their past.
For both of us,
has been that person for both of those characters, and that's what makes the triangle so complicated, I guess. Yeah.
No, I love that, because it's almost this one person still connects you together. Like both have lost someone, But I love that all of these characters are so relatable to the point that all of us are running away. We've had that moment where we tried to run away from our past before it ultimately catches up with us. And I wanted to know, for the both of you, how do you make sure that you're staying in the now, that you're moving forward from your past to really be present in the moment now with anything happen with you professionally or even personally?
Wow, what a great question. I've been thinking a lot about gratitude, I guess, in that, especially as an actor, I guess, we tend to be quite ambitious, driven people, and there's a sort of, there's a glass ceiling as to how high you can get as an actor. You see people that are, there'll always be people higher up the food chain than you, but to try and be grateful in every moment for the opportunities you have and the experiences that you have, and to not let, not only be thinking about what you want, but to be very pleased and feel very lucky about what you have and what you've experienced.
I completely agree with that. Gratitude is a big one. And I think after, the year and a half that we've had in the world, so many people being away from their loved ones and their families. I mean, we shot the show in New Zealand, so, I didn't get to see my family for, almost 8 months. So just the simplest little things, just waking up in the morning and having coffee with my husband, and you know what I mean, just connecting to the loved ones around you. I think a lot of people are really understanding more now the importance of those moments that maybe we may have taken for granted a couple of years ago.
I totally agree. I mean, but speaking of those moments, I want to know, what moments did you kind of have this realization, like, this is really happening? Like, I truly feel like connected not only to the anime that, you're representing in this live action, but just to the fandom of, like, everyone's going to see these iconic characters. What was that moment for you on set?
Oh
Ooh, I mean, I'm not sure necessarily. I guess I tried to slightly keep away from the idea of thinking of people watching the show.
That's true, me
But
too, yeah.
for me, a real kind of moment when I kind of caught myself and remembered, particularly how incredibly lucky I was in that moment is when I was doing the fight scene in the Elder's Temple. So it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. There's this scene in which I have to fight about 12 people at the same time, and had done all this training to get to that point. And as you say, we were in New Zealand, and we were largely free from, able to live fairly free in New Zealand in terms of with COVID and everything, to get to be working when hardly anyone else was working, to get to learn a new skill to bring to bear on this show, and to be with the stunt crew and the crew that would work so hard together. And to sort of, feel at the peak of fitness at that point, that was a real, remember this moment in the times when it's a bit harder.
Absolutely. I'd say towards the end for sure. Like when we're wrapping up the season, we were in the cathedral. That was, the last week of shooting. It was walking onto that set and just as a fan being in awe of what we've built and that we had finally gotten there. And I think in that moment, like wearing the Julia costume and standing in front of the stained glass, that I was like, oh wow, we're doing this and people are gonna see this and I think they're gonna think this is cool. I think it was then.
Well, look, I definitely think that is cool. And I just want to thank both of you for taking the time to speak with me. It means so much. And I'm just sending love and light your way. And I really hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Really nice to meet you.
Great meeting you. Bye. Here, wait. Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you? You have the best background so far.
Yes. Look, I am so excited to see this brought to a live action series. Literally made my entire life when we got the post for the credits scene during Geeked. But one of the first questions that I wanted to ask you is, what were some of the challenges that you had? Some of those things that you just felt like, wow, like, can I really take this from anime and do it full justice in a live action?
Do you have 9.5 hours for me to talk about all the challenges?
I have the rest of my life just for you.
Great. There were so many challenges, and a lot of them came from having a true love of the anime and wanting to make sure that we were paying proper homage as we lived and looked at and experienced our making of the show. I mean, living in the spirit of Cowboy Bebop was essential. And I think the biggest challenge of that, and it was daily, was capturing the tone. Banter, humor, but emotion and deep soul, real people, a world that felt familiar but futuristic, and action sequences that truly told character stories as well, all while living up to a jazz soundtrack. There were myriad, but I think the truth was it was trying to live and capture and present and place Cowboy Bebop in its own very real world with real people. That was really the challenge. And it's the thing that the anime captured very well in its poetry, was making those characters feel relatable to us, and not like they were animated. So that was the challenge.
I love that you bring up the tone and the banter, because while watching the series, I'm just like, they have such great chemistry of really making you feel like, the family that you create on your own through your adventures. And I wanted to ask you, how was that really getting the tone right and the chemistry right with our three main leads? Like, what did you do to really prepare for that?
I cast them so well, it's crazy. So all that banter was natural. They really embody their characters so deeply. I think these characters live inside them even before they got these jobs to some degree. And I think that they are drawing on something that already exists, again, very profoundly inside of them in the best way possible. So part of this was just about putting them in a room together and, unleashing them all. So it was always a joy to watch it happen.
It was a joy to watch it. I was watching, I was like, can I be a part of the family? Like, I can be a part of this friendship circle now. But what was that moment on set when you just realized you had that, like, we really got this right? Like, we're really doing this justice right now?
Um, it's so hard, you know, you're on set and you're looking at everything and you're like, this looks good. I hope this is good. Is this good? What's it going to be like in the edit? It's such an iterative process of making a show. I think seeing the Bebop set for the first time after, I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of drawings and concepts and blueprints, taping out the space on a soundstage, walking through it, thinking about it, visualizing it, walking into it, then dressing it with furniture, seeing that couch for the first time. I think seeing the Bebop is the moment that everything became very, very real for me on this show. And I realized that the team that we had assembled, who I knew were great, I really looked around and I was like, okay, this team is great. We're gonna do this thing. Like, the shit is on. Like, it's on.
I love that. For one of my final questions, I love that this series is relatable because all of our characters that we see, they're running away from their past and it's hindering them from actually being present in the moment. And I wanted to know for you, like, how do you make sure that you're really letting the past go past mistakes or things that might haunt you still? How do you make sure that you're living in the now?
Me personally?
You can speak personally or professionally.
No,
I'll get in your business.
Yeah, no, I'll talk about both, but I'll really talk about the characters and how my life would relate to the storytelling. Is that I don't think that anyone can outrun their past, no matter how fast they're moving. And at a certain point in time, the past will always catch up to you. And it's what you choose to do when it does that tells you the truth about a person, about who you are. And to me, that became a very interesting idea to be exploring for these characters. They live in a rough and tumble world, and they do have rough and tumble histories. And in order to understand who they are, it's important to know where they came from and how they respond to the challenges of who they were and who they want to be. So to me, that lives in sort of a delicious opportunity for some very classic storytelling about people under duress.
That was great. That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Well, look, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Yeah.
Also, too, shout out to your background. I see what you're doing there. Love to stay in the theme.
Yep.
But I'm just sending love and light. Just thank you so much for bringing this anime series to live action to our screens. And I just hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I appreciate all of your enthusiasm for it.
Thank you.
Thanks.